Okay, today we have a whole packer brisket. I think this thing was about 14 pounds. Inside we have both the flat and then the point. I'm going to show you guys how to trim it up and get it ready to go on the smoker and all of that today. So first thing what I want to do is just kind of look at it. So when you're picking it out in the store, you kind of want to look at like the marbling inside. Has quite a bit of fat on it, which is always good to see, but we'll trim a lot of it off like this stuff. So let's get started. So first thing I'm going to start with, I will start kind of with the point or with the flat right here. And you just want to get kind of some of the silver skin off of it. We'll take big chunks of fat off of here. So if we take off something like this, try not to cut yourself. But that's all going to be fat inside of there. So we don't want to really eat that, so we're going to take it off. Just kind of throw it away. And brisket's always kind of an intimidating meat. They're expensive, they're big, so a lot of people are kind of scared to cook them. They're just like a pork butt. You just trim them up and get the fat that you don't want to eat off of there. So some of this fat, like you can see inside here, I went a little deep on that one. There's quite a bit of fat inside there. This looks like a pretty good cut. But there's some silver skin right here that I want to get rid of because you don't really want to be chewing on that. It's not really going to render out. So we're just going to get rid of that. Just a simple cut. Grab it. And just follow it down. Take all of that off. So we're going to keep cleaning it up through here. And then you can kind of see this edge. So when it hits oxygen, it turns kind of that gray color. We don't really want to eat that, so all we're going to do is just take our knife and just slice right through it. Take it all off. We'll just finish that cut down through. One trick too, so instead of trying to pick it up, you can just kind of lift it up with your fingers underneath. And kind of, it's a little easier to get to. And a lot of this is the fat that separates the point and the flat from each other. So you could dig pretty deep into here and it's just going to be all fat. We'll just expose the point a little bit. So just talking a little bit about the meat. Our flat right here is where we're going to get slices. So we'll slice it like this down it. We'll get slices out of here. The point is where you get your burnt ends. So that's my favorite one. So I try to keep it a little more delicate. I like to keep a lot of the point on there. But we don't want to be chewing on fat. So we're going to remove it. And then we have that oxidized stuff. Call that good on this side for now. We'll probably flip over just to check it before we go. But with this too, competition, we get a little more off of here. We're just doing this for backyard fun, so I'm not going to get too serious about it. So this is kind of cool right here. You can kind of see, so right through here you can see that vein of fat. Up here, that's your point muscle. You can see that there's a little more fat inside the muscles there. And then you have your slices here, your flat. That's where you can get your slices from. So that right here is the fat vein that just kind of separates the two. So now you're on your fat cap side. What I like to do on the fat cap, probably everybody does this, is you trim down the fat cap a little bit on the flat, so where your slices are. And then on the point, we're going to take it completely off, all the fat completely off, so we can expose it more for seasonings. this off, kind of round it up so when that smoke hits it, I know I took quite a bit of meat off of there, but what I want to do is make it aerodynamic. I know they talk about that in cars and stuff, but same thing with the brisket. When it's in the smoke, you kind of want the smoke to roll over top of it so that it will get more smoke penetration, everything like that. So I had a big piece right here sticking out. So I just kind of shaped it down. That way the smoke will roll over it. It'll get a lot more smoke penetration. That piece probably would just burn. We probably would just throw it away once it's cooked. So that's why we took that one off. But as you can see, I'm starting to get down to the meat of the point. The reason why I like to take all the fat off of the point is I can get more seasonings on there. I cut myself. I can get more seasonings on there, and I want my burnt ends to have as much seasoning as possible on them. Okay, so our point's looking good. There's a little bit that we can still take off, but again, backyard barbecue. Not gonna be too crazy about it. So I know that's a hard job. So I'll just take off that last little bit, call it good for our point, and now we're gonna talk about our flat. So our flat right here, we're gonna get slices, like I said. I like to take off a little quarter, down to about a 1/4 inch on the flat, just so it has a little bit of fat when you bite through it. I also cook with the fat cap down, so it will kind of protect us from the flame a little bit. We'll still season it up just like normal, but it'll just kind of protect it so it won't burn the meat as much. So as you can see, let me flip this around. We have quite a bit of fat to work with here. And it will thin out as we get over to this side. But if I want to take this down to a 1/4 inch, I'm taking off quite a bit of fat still. So let's make some cuts. And this doesn't have to be perfect. Quite a bit of it will render. And if you hit meat, it's not the end of the world. But this part you can kind of see where you're cutting, like right there I hit meat, that's fine. You just adjust your knife, and you're good. As you're getting down to this thin part, one trick I've found, and I haven't really heard anybody else kind of mention this, but there's almost like you can grip it, and there's just kind of a section between there. I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm just kind of peeling off the top layer of fat there. And I've noticed that that will leave me almost about right where I'm at, or right where I want to be at once I'm done. I don't know if you can hear that just kind of peeling back, but that's what I found with the brisket is there's almost like two fat caps on there. There's one that's a little more loose, and then there's like a little divider between it. So you can find that divider. It's pretty easy to trim it down to that 1/4 inch. Keep your fingers away so you don't cut yourself again. Take some of this off the side there. Looking pretty good. Okay, so one more, then let's get into injecting. So what I got here is a little bit of beef broth. Has a little bit of hot sauce in there. And then it has a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, or however you say that. So we just have our trusty little injector needle here, and we're just going to go to town. I always inject with the grain, and then I'll just go in a grid pattern so that I get all the slices on there. So I'll just start down here at the bottom. You might want to watch the camera because it might shoot you. It'll let you know when it's done. It'll start squirting. And down here where it's a little thinner, doesn't take much. Make a pocket, squirt a little in there. Again, make a pocket, squirt a little in there. Pocket, squirt. Okay. Kind of fun to watch it. It will come out here. I was just barely squirting it here.
Daddy, look!
Did you take a picture of his bum? Nice.
Look, Dad!
Whoa.
I think we'll play your game.
Look.
Just kind of working in the
Look,
grid.
Dad.
That's cool. Sometimes if I have enough fat on my flat, say that 10 times fast. If I have enough fat on my flat, I won't inject. Just kind of depends on the mood I'm in. Where this one doesn't have too much fat on it, it looks pretty good up here, but down here it's pretty. We'll inject it. So it'll start kind of coming out. So if I go in there, I make a hole, it'll go quite a ways, but then it will start coming out as well. So you just kind of stop when it starts coming out. And I'll normally just do like a quick run and then go back through it. Just add some more in there. We'll just let that sit for a little bit. I didn't put too much in it. I always like to save some of my injection for the wrap. So we injected it. I'll let it sit for about 10 minutes or so before I start seasoning it. Just kind of spread this around a little bit. I'll dry it off a little bit. It's looking good. Okay, so seasonings. On a brisket, I like to go with a base rub and then also kind of a more coarse rub as well. These two I've really liked. This is the Plowboys Bovine Bold. This is the Cosmos SPG. So salt, pepper, garlic. I like it because it's more of a coarse rub. The reason why I like to go a fine barbecue rub and then a coarse rub is I feel like I can get a better bark on my brisket when I do that. So what I'll start with is just kind of this Bovine Bold. Just kind of lay a base layer. Everybody calls it a rub. I don't rub my meat. I just kind of pat it in. So I'll just kind of go with a fairly good sprinkle of the Bovine Bold. And this is just kind of a mixture that I found works pretty good together. And then I'll just kind of pat it in. Sometimes people use some sort of binder, mustard, hot sauce. I had enough of the injection still left over that I was going to bind good or well. So I didn't add in any mustard or anything like that on top of there. I'll just kind of rub it in and then just give it a good pat. I also like a good base layer that's like a red. So it has a little bit of like cayenne, a little paprika in there. Will also help your bark look a little good. And then we'll get some up here, up top. And this has more salt in it too. So we don't want to go as heavy on this one. And we'll start seeing that salt kind of soaking. You'll get a couple wet spots on your meat. So get some of that salt, pepper, garlic in there, and then again we'll just pat it down. And then it's just a waiting game again. We'll get some on the side over here, and then we'll just kind of wait for it to bind a little bit and flip over. So kind of already you can see that salt working in right here, bringing out some of the moisture. That salt's soaking in. You're gonna start getting some moisture pockets on here. Flip her over. And just kind of repeat on this side. We'll season up the fat cap a little bit as well, because we'll be eating that as well. Kind of see that I guide it with my hands. I don't like wasting rub because it's kind of expensive. So I just kind of use my hands to make sure that I get it all on the meat. Sometimes you have to pat down your rub because it starts sticking at the top. It starts getting kind of crystallized. So again, base layer. I'm going to pull up this point and kind of get the tip of it. Got our good base layer, a nice barbecue seasoning, and then again the salt, pepper, garlic on top. Getting a lot of salt, so we'll mix it up a little bit. Getting a lot of salt. Again, sometimes when you shake this, the salt's a little less coarse than like the pepper and garlic. You'll get a lot of salt on there. If that's the case, you just kind of want to shake it up a little bit again. So we're all seasoned up. We'll probably let this sit in the fridge for a little bit. We'll probably throw it on right before we go to bed tonight, and then wake up in the morning and wrap it. We'll probably do a cook overnight. If you're gonna cook it overnight, 8 hours, you should be fine to go about 200, 225. I'll probe it just to make sure I don't hit that 160 mark. Once we hit 160, we have a good bark on there. We'll wrap the meat. I like to wrap in butcher paper. I've done the Texas crutch with aluminum foil before, but I think tonight we're going to do some butcher paper, and then we'll pull it off in the morning when it's at that 205, and then we'll start slicing it.